It's really important to celebrate women, not just when it's Women's History Month. And so today I'm really excited that I have three incredible women here. Just so that you guys know a little bit about us, FoodtoEat is a corporate catering concierge service where we partner with immigrants, women, and minority-owned restaurants. About 70% of our restaurants are within those three categories. And our goal is to really help them build their catering services by helping corporations think about two things. Diversity and inclusion is always thought about through the lens of hiring, and it's always, let's hire some women and people of color and they're done. And for us, it's how do you use food and beverage and create D&I through that lens, and remember that it's not just hiring. So A, use your purchasing power. Corporations, you have dollars. So DVF tonight paid for all the wonderful food that's here. They use their purchasing power to invest in these three local businesses that are women-owned. And two, now that you've hired a diverse set of people, how do you create a more inclusive environment? And so you've hired this diverse set of people, how do you create something that is representative of their backgrounds and where they come from? So that's who we are, and that's why y'all are here tonight. And you know, in every industry, like most industries, the food industry is also male-dominated, and we think it's important to have these conversations all the time, like I said. And today we'll be hearing from these three, which I will have them introduce themselves. And they've persevered through their own unique ups and downs and are now building thriving small businesses in New York City, which is one of the hardest places to run any kind of business. But when you're in the food industry, it's even harder, and I'm sure they'll talk about it tonight. So with that, I will stop talking and allow you guys to do quick intros of yourself, and we'll get started from there.
Hi, I'm Janie. I'm the owner and founder of Janie's Life-Changing Baked Goods, and tonight you have my signature cookie, pie crust cookies, and then some chocolate chip and chewy vegan ginger cookies. And yeah, my business is based in East Harlem. My specialty are pie crust cookies, and it's an honor to be here.
Hi, my name is PriaVanda Chouhan, and I own Desi Galli restaurants. You're sampling tonight my blueberry butter pav. You're having my avocado bel puri, as well as things are coming out later. You're gonna have some chicken biryani, paneer tikka masala, and some chicken biryani kebabs. So please stay after the panel to enjoy those as well. We've been in business 7 years ago. This is a second career for me, but we'll get into that later, and I will pass it on.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cynthia Shepard. I'm currently the general manager in Corazon, Mexico, but my mom is the owner. We are the one running the ship. Tonight we're sampling the elote, that's the empanada, the veggie empanada, and the Mexican ceviche tostada, so it's going around. I hope you enjoy. I've been in the hospital industry around like 5 years now, more than 5 years. It's always been me and my mom trying to survive, so I'll be talking more about it later.
So I'm gonna start off with, we know what you do, right? You create amazing food. What's your why, right? I think the importance of any business is really understanding why they've started. For me, it's been, I'm a first generation Indian American, and who is native New Yorker, who wanted to be able to elevate the stories of immigrant women and minority-owned restaurants. And so obviously here's one way that we're doing that. But what are your whys? Like Janie, I want you to really talk about where you came from. Because when you first told me, I was literally shocked. Would never have guessed. And Janie and I met as a part of the WeNYC program where I'm a mentor, and some of the women are here today. And I was mentoring her, but I feel like I left being mentored and learning more from you about just resilience and perseverance. So I'd love for you to just talk about your why.
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in New York City. Always loved cooking, loved baking. It was like a very visceral memory of childhood. Like I hear the NPR going in the kitchen, and I know it was time for dinner, just because like all my sensory memories are related to cooking. And I went to college for theater. I got a BFA in theater performance, which is so different than what I'm doing now. And then in my early 20s, my life was totally derailed. I found myself homeless and penniless, no cell phone, no bank account, no ID, all due to alcoholism and addiction. And I, at age 25, was able to climb out of that. But I found that I was a shell of a woman. I'd never, even as a child, like I look back and I really had never had a sense of self-love or confidence or self, period. And so I found that I was just like this shell of a person with no sort of self-esteem, no sort of courage, no pride, no joy, and no hope. But I knew that if I was going to stay sober and not be homeless and get out of that hole that I was in, and that just like overwhelming fear that I was feeling, that I had to sort of find passion and joy in life. And so I remember working as right when I got sober, I was working as a superintendent in the East Village and like taking out garbage at 5 a.m. and sweeping and all that stuff. And I knew that I had to have a creative outlet. Theater and film was not going to be it. And I bought this cheap like Hamilton handheld mixer and started baking again in my like kitchen in the East Village with the shower in the kitchen and one sink. And I started baking for every event I went to, and I was making like something like $225 a week, so I had nothing to contribute but baked goods. And my name started becoming sort of synonymous with bakes, so it would be Janie Bakes, which was my first original brand name, was Janie Bakes. And I really, like, at the beginning of this, I couldn't look people in the eyes, but as I would bring these baked goods to events and, you know, see you guys lighting up when you ate my baked goods and see your demeanor change and get to feed people, I started being able to like look at you in the eyes and started to be able to say thank you, and yeah, that is me who made that. And so it just really, it started to fill me with that sense of pride and just self-love that I had never ever before felt. And so fast forward a couple of years, I was working as a nanny, and I was just like, I know that if, you know, life is good, I know how to live, like I have a bank account, I have a home, I have a cell phone, I have all those things, but I don't really have purpose. And I knew that I wasn't going to be a nanny for the rest of my life. And so actually Sunday, I don't even know what today is, Sunday was my 4-year business anniversary. I just basically was, a friend asked me if she could purchase a cake for a huge event, and I was like, oh my God, who am I, first of all? Like I you know, never went to culinary school, only have worked front of house in restaurants as a hostess. Who am I to start a business? But she asked if she could purchase a cake from me, and it fueled me with that. She was that one person who gave me that, like, just little nudge of courage. And so this cake was a big success, and Thanksgiving was right after, and I thought if I could sell one pie for Thanksgiving, then maybe this is viable. And just through like a total grassroots movement of community and friends, I managed to sell dozens of pies that first Thanksgiving. So.
And I love that. Like, I think for any business owner, like the biggest piece of validation is when somebody actually buys from you and purchases your, like for us, it was when somebody was willing to say, yeah, I guess it's worth paying you to coordinate all of our food and beverage programming. We'll do that. And, you know, and like that was huge for us. It's like there is some value in what I'm bringing to the table. And people really bought into our mission, which was really to help support and empower these stories. So I really love hearing like you talk through that, because self-love, we always think about self-love and self-healing through, you know, I went for a run or I exercised and I got a manicure, pedicure. And the fact that you describe self-love through like an action, through like somebody else appreciating your food, is really interesting. And that is an act of self-love, because you're validating for yourself your worth as well. Your why?
So my culinary journey started 10 years ago when I moved to New York from Canada. So I'm Canadian-Indian or Indian-Canadian, I don't know which one it is, but my first language is French. I moved here, did not know how to cook, did not help my mother in the kitchen growing up except washing dishes. So we did it for self-survival. We would go to restaurants, not find the taste of home we were looking for, and I'm like, hey, let me just try something at home. After a lot of garbage, like we have something called chapati, which is the Indian tortilla, and I'd make them, they'd be like frisbees, like you could put them on the wall and they'd crack. So my husband ate a lot of garbage. But when I finally got the proportions right, we had something viable. We had the taste of home that we were creating. And then my husband and I were like, let's do something with this. Because coming from Canada again, by the way, nobody was hiring me. It was recession, and I come from a fashion design background, so no one's gonna give me an H-1B for that. So we took our nest egg and opened up Desi Galli on Lexington 7 years ago, which is on 27th and Curry Hill. And we're like, if we could survive in Curry Hill, which has another 25 Indian restaurants, we have something. So we're still standing 7 years later with 2 locations and a third one opening December 1st.
And just something that you didn't touch upon. Well, one of the things that I love about your why that's changed is that your why was you wanted to find something that reminded you of home, but it also switched into educating people about Indian food, right? So oftentimes people always think Indian food is unhealthy. It's, all curry. First of all, there's no such thing as curry in Indian food, and that's like a fact. But the fact is, like, Indian food can and is very healthy. I eat it every day. I look this good. No, I'm just kidding. Mainly, I do a lot of running, but the point is, like, that education piece is really important. But because with our work as well, we want people to understand that African food is more than just, one country. Africa is filled with hundreds of countries, and it's not hundreds, but there's a lot of countries there, and it's Sudanese, it's Nigerian, it's Ethiopian, and that was really eye-opening for me because I was educating myself about different countries and what their food looks like, and so I love that you're doing that as well through your food.
No, 100%. Indian food is still very niche in America. So everyone, I'm sure, knows what chicken tikka masala is, which is not actually an Indian dish, it's a British dish. But everyone knows what that is. So I specialize in street food, which is kachi rolls, and I have to explain it to my customers as the Indian burrito. And what you had earlier, the avocado bel puri, I say it's an Indian nacho, because people have to sense what they're tasting and what flavors they're gonna get in their mouth before they actually try something, even though it looks pretty.
Hi. So when I was growing up with my mom, and like really sharing this, but I think it's important because we all go through it. It was not a healthy home. My mom was constantly being abused. So as I grew up, as a regular kid, I would cry at night, and I decided to go to college where I did hospitality management. At that time I was working, me and my mom, we would always been in the industry because my uncle, he's actually been, the successful person, and also we've been running his business. So we had like a restaurant where we were managing, we were the one in front, but he's the one actually, we doing the hard work, and he's the one actually taking all the credits, as some of you might experience sometimes in your lifetime. So I hate the fact that I felt that because of the culture that the man should be in charge or should be the one taking care of. I'm like, why cannot we do it? Why my mom has to continue living this way? I think this is unfair, and we as a woman, we should be able to stand up, and we should be able to take charge. If he can do it, why can we not do it? So to make the story short, so La Delita, where we used to work for, I used to work for my uncle, it was demolished. So then my mom was like, so what are we gonna do now? I'm like, now is our time. We have all the experience. I love talking to people. I'm passionate. I'm making sure of the hospitality, so I take care of all the details, and my mom take care of the kitchen. She loves cooking. That's, I think, whenever we were having those nights that were not good, she would just start cooking, and you can see that passion in her. I'm like, we can do something about it. So I'm happy to say, so we decided to open Corazon de Mexico, which is in Long Island City, and it's been such an experience because we have learned how to manage. We have be able to break that barrier. We, of course, our family do not support us at all. They're all like, that's not for women, that's not what you're supposed to do it because they say, so we've proven them wrong. And it's not easy, we're fighting through it, and I'm happy that in November, in 3 weeks, I was saying December, we opened our second location in 52 Roosevelt Avenue. So we as women are able to do not let the past determine your future at all. I know we might go through some certain difficult things in our life, but we cannot let that determine. We have to be able to stand up. And for that reason, just to mention, I've associated with the Floating Hospital. We're trying to get a project to help those women who's been abused, who have limited resources, who are fair, and does not think that they cannot that's their future, that's the end. Who live with the victim, and that's not supposed to be that way. So I am trying to make that little bit of difference, helping others with limited resources, giving hope that yes, they can do it, and yes, they can be in charge. I have another example, Maria, she works with us as well. I'm happy. We have 4 in the morning. These 3 ladies are the one cooking, the catering, 300, 400, 500, you name it. And we are there, and sometimes it's 12 o'clock in the night, 1 a.m. in the morning, come back at 4, and we are just pushing, because we know we're gonna be able to break it.
And what I love about that is that it's right in, kind of conjunction with DVF, in charge, right? You kept saying in charge, I don't know, consciously or not, but like, we have to take ownership of who we are and our own destinies and what it means to be in charge for us individually, and not allowing the past to define who we are today or our future. And move past that and like forge our paths. The past does play a part in what our future holds, but it shouldn't be what we define ourselves as. So Janie, I want you to talk a little bit about, like, speaking of our past, how have you taken your past and incorporated it into your business, right? So you had a very difficult background. You were being homeless in your 20s, you had an addiction. How did you go past that? But like, how did you allow that to be a part of what you're doing today and help some of the people that are going through that today?
Sure. So I think one of my best assets, went through this awful time in my life, which gave me the strength and courage to be an entrepreneur, which we all know is just, it's not an easy path either. And so now, like, I'm just resilient. Like, I show up, rain or shine, sleep or no sleep, like I'm there. But I realized that as soon as I started the business, that it had to be more than just like a for-profit business. And I'm not a non-for-profit at all, but I realized that I needed to find a way to incorporate, selling cookies and cakes with something that gave back. And the tagline of my business is life-changing baked goods. And I like to say it's for 3 reasons. They're so good, it'll change your life. You know why it changed my life. But it's really important to me that as I grow and scale up into a different sort of bigger business, that I keep that as the lifeblood of my business through doing a lot of work in the community and eventually being a second chance employer. And I think about, when I got sober, I had worked as a nanny and I had gone to college for theater performance. And like, that's not much of a resume, right? And I was 25 and I was in this like job pool with all these young women who had had these, and men who had had these, and men who had had these, just like tremendous amounts of experience on their resumes. And I was a nanny and a super. And I was, for the first 3 or 4 years, I was like petrified of applying. I didn't have the courage, nor did I think I was like good enough to apply for any sort of job that I wanted. And I didn't have the experience or the resume to back it up. And, I had probably years and years of gaps in my resume. And so it was a big challenge for me. And luckily, I started a business that has flourished and employs me and will hopefully continue to employ me for years to come. But I realized that it's not just me who has that experience, who has those gaps in their resume, who has that lack of work experience. And so I want to be able to employ women who are in that same dark place that I once was, have no job experience. Also, people who are formerly incarcerated and really can't get a job. I find that people with backgrounds like mine, or anybody who has this challenge that they've overcome, tend to be the hardest workers, the most resilient, the most unflappable, and that's like, if I know that that background gives me strength to show up every day, then I know that there's millions of other people who will have the strength to show up every day too. And so, I'm still a small business. I just hired my first employee. She came to me from a college. She found me. She had never worked in the culinary industry, but she wanted to start her own bakery, and she interned with me for college credit, and I retained her as a part-time employee. And in January, she's starting with me as a full-time employee. And I do this big corporate order every year for a big non-for-profit charity called Association to Benefit Children. And I've done volunteer work with them for the past couple of years, teaching. They have immigrant and homeless children who are the, beneficiaries of their programs. But I've done a lot of baking classes with the children. But this year, I'm using their kitchen to produce this order, and I'm getting to hire these parents of the kids in this programs who have no jobs, who are homeless heads of household. And so it's so cool to me that even if it's just a temporary job, that I can take, instead of hiring all these other people with these backgrounds, that I can hire straight from the source, from this charity that is benefiting, and be able to at least give them jobs. And it's one of the reasons why I developed a product called the pie crust cookie, which I'm about to release in dozens of grocery stores. And I've decided not to go with a co-packer because I want to be able to, a co-packer is someone who would make the cookies for me. I've decided not to go that route because I want to be able to keep employing other people as I grow.
And again, it's owning that you have the power. Just as you have the purchasing power, you have the hiring power. You have the ability to say who you want to employ, who you want to spend your dollars with, which is why, again, I always encourage people, spend your dollars in the places that matter. Look up the companies, make sure they're women-owned or immigrant-owned or whatever is most important to you, but don't just go because it's the cheapest or the easiest route. It's, hiring somebody with a ton of experience is probably what most people do, and they forget that there's folks out there that have backgrounds and needs and also want to pursue and grow themselves. Priya, one of the things that I love, hearing about you and your background is how, as an Indian Canadian, as also an Indian American myself, I've always grappled with my two identities. So just a quick anecdote, as an Indian American, first generation, I have a kid who is also Indian American. And I pack his lunch boxes every day, and I post them on Insta stories. And in it, I try to incorporate those backgrounds that we come from, right? I have both sides. And then I think about what's American food. To me, American food is actually immigrant food. It's food from all over the world, but I still have this need to try to identify my Indian background and my American heritage as well. And I do that in his lunch boxes, and I post them to encourage other moms and other parents to also try to think about where do they come from and what are they putting in their kids' lunch boxes. Because I remember being made fun of as a kid when I was bringing in Indian food. People oh my God, that smells. I'm no, this shit smells great. I love it. I'm amazed by it. I don't know what you think. Your food looks great too. If it was vegetarian, I'd be able to eat it too. But I think that's really important. And so I love that you've incorporated that when you've started Desi Galli. And so can you talk a little bit about that Indian Canadian side and one of your most popular dishes? That's not here tonight because it wouldn't have translated well, but I'd love for you to talk about that.
Okay, so how many of you have been up to Montreal? Hands? Okay. How many have you tried poutine? Yes. So poutine goes way back to my youth where we go clubbing, 3, 4 a.m. on DeCarry Square. There's this orange julep, this big ball that takes up the corner of the street, and we'd go there for poutine after drinking. So I invented Desi poutine, which is my homage to Montreal and my both cultures of Indian and Canadian heritage. So I take the crispy French fries and I pour on a tikka gravy with grated paneer, and that's how I keep both my identities together, and they're available in the restaurant. And it's put us on the map, including Vogue magazine has even featured that dish because it's so unique.
But can you also talk about why it was important for you to do that and create that dish? I understand that, the drunken nights and all that. But beyond that, what else was a part of your Canadian side that reminded you to want to pursue, continue doing that in all of your food?
So one of the things that people come in and tell me, it's I try to please 95% of the clientele, but at the end of the day, I have to be pleased the most. Everything on the menu, it's oh, you have a vast menu, and I'm but I crave everything because this is my mom's, or this is my sister's, or this is my mother-in-law's. I didn't invent all of the recipes. I do more so now, but like pav bhaji is Rashmi's, and it's not pav bhaji that you eat on the streets of Mumbai. It's Rashmi's pav bhaji, which is Canada. That's a taste of home. And it's like my father-in-law's chicken tikka masala. It's not from India, but it's my dad in the UK. My father-in-law's in the UK's recipe. So I'm able to create these recipes in the restaurant, and it's my homage to my family.
Yeah, and that's amazing to be able to pay respect to them to some extent. So Cynthia, I want, because you were talking a lot about being in charge and being, in love with being a business owner, what is your favorite part and what is your least favorite part about being your own boss?
Well, my favorite part is that I have the power and I'm in charge, so I can decide who I want to work with me. I'll also be able to control what I want. It gives you a sense of freedom and a sense of that, wow, this is mine. This is my baby. I'm creating it. So even though if I have to stay day and night there, I know it's mine. I don't have to give no one. Me and my mom, we don't have to no, this is ours. Nobody has to tell her what to do. And that's the barrier that I've been trying to break because, as I mentioned before, because of our culture, our Mexican culture, it tends to be that the man is the one to feed, but this is not the case. So we have I have my 3 siblings, and me and my mom, and sometimes it's kind of difficult, which would be my least indirectly favorite part, because sometimes it takes a little bit out of you. Also, I love cooking with my mom, but sometimes I gotta get there when somebody's not there. So it's not my least, it's not my best favorite, because I like to be able to communicate with people. I'm more like a detail.
Well, you're on the hospitality side.
Yes. So when my mom is like, okay, don't worry, I'm there. I put my hands down, my hair up, let's do it. So I get it done. So it's not one of my favorite, but I love to do it. I enjoy doing it because I do it with my mom.
Priya, you had talked about that when we were talking previously. As a business owner, one of the hardest things is when someone calls out.
Yes, so you can't afford to keep extra staff in your restaurants because your payroll is just going to skyrocket. So as a business owner and a restaurateur, you need to know every position in your restaurant, including like dishwashing and cleaning the bathroom and dicing onions. Like, I still cry, my mascara still runs when I'm dicing onions nowadays. But you'd really be prepared to do anything what it takes. Like, I don't dress up like this at work anymore. I ruined too many jeans with bleach. I look like a little boy when you come in, but everything, the job has to get done whether your staff is there or not.
And what's some advice that you would give to somebody who is looking to enter the world of food?
In terms of restaurants?
Restaurants or catering or any sort of part of food. Like, what would you say is like some great advice that worked for you?
Okay. So number one, definitely, like I said earlier, learn every position of your business, and that way your staff can control you. Number two, when you're doing your financial planning, plan double. You never know what's going to happen.
Amen to that.
You never know. It could be health department, fire department. For me, my first year was Sandy. So 6 months into the business, shut down, had to restart again, and no one had flood insurance back then. So it's not like I even got it comped. So my first year of business, I had to start all over again. Number three, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and who have the skills. Like, I'm a self-taught chef, so I hired, my line cook had the culinary experience that I needed, so I could run ideas off of him. So always surround yourself with people who know more than you do.
Janie, what about you? Since you're one of the newest.
Yeah, I would tag on to that. Like, today, I barely made it here. I was making like over 1,000 of these little pie crust cookies, and I had someone working for me, but she had to leave and then come back, and I was washing dishes and fielding phone calls and just like my hands and everything, delivering cookies. So yeah, I would just tag on to that it's just like there's nothing that I'm too good to do in the kitchen, and I would also say, like, I'm now looking for someone. I wasn't trained in a culinary background, and so now I'm looking to hire someone who is better than me at what I do, and because I know that I'm not an accountant, I'm not a pastry chef, I'm not all these things. And as I grow the business, I need to spend more time being the face of the business and being a businesswoman and being an entrepreneur. And so it's important to learn how to let go. I'm a control freak. It's having faith that they do it better.
And since we are, the topic today is women in food, has being a woman affected your businesses in a positive or negative way?
So again, Lexington Avenue reminds me of like old India, where it was owned by uncles and old school mentality with names like Taj Mahal as a restaurant, which there's one in every city in the world. So when
It's like the Great Wall
Yeah.
for like Chinese restaurants.
So when I first came to that block, no one would talk to me. First of all, they thought my father owned it or my husband owned it. No one thought that little old me, and again, baseball cap, ponytail, I could look like 10 years younger. No one believed that I owned it, and no one would talk to me or be neighborly. Now, being there for so long, I've become acquainted with everyone, but it was very hard to like bridge that barrier of being a woman-owned restaurant in Little India. But I think I now have gained the respect from them.
And was there anything in particular that you feel like you had to do, or was it just that they had seen you be there, like you survived, that you made it past year 1 or 2?
No, when they saw my lunch lines out the door, yeah, they knew I was onto something.
The one piece of advice I love giving to women or just people in general, entrepreneurs that are starting out, is like you go in with facts. Like when you go into a room when you're pitching or talking about yourself, you go in with the facts, because men cannot wrap their heads around anything else. So if you say like, I'm Forbes 30 under 30, I've done this, I've done that, I have $1 million in revenue, they can't fight those, right? And so it is what it is, and like they can't say, oh, but you're a girl and you can't do this. Well, I did. I already did. I just proved it to you. I gave you my numbers. I showed you my credibility, and I'm worthy of being in this room. And so that line is exactly that. It's being able to say, well, you're seeing this. It's proof. I'm not giving away anything for free. People are actually coming in to buy from me. And that's like really, again, goes back to validation of like the importance of like knowing that you're worthy of your business and whatnot. How about?
And continuing the question that you asked, so when we first started, it wasn't an easy path because we had to do everything from scratch. So when you have to do COA and the kitchen, the equipment, it was really hard. But after the business closed, so we started in Long Island City. So we don't live in Long Island City, so it's a new demographic. It was everything new. We were used to different demographics. So learning all these details kind of got also at the beginning, we didn't felt welcomed. Even saying that, I had a note, I don't like remembering it, that it said like, go back where you came from, or it was, me and my mom was like this, we made the right decision. I don't think the neighborhood is gonna like it. And it kind of got us a little bit depressed because we were so excited, it's ours, we finally, I'm like, you're there, I'm like, I say, okay, we finally feel we're here, but you're not there yet. It's just starting. So we are we are fighters, and I can say we are live, but so we have been persistent in everything that we do. So I'm very happy, like program like FoodtoEat. I joined the Long Island City partnership. They have been so helpful in a small business. I'm very supportive of us. So that has helped us create this atmosphere. So now we're starting to feel like, wow, this is a family. So it wasn't easy. And it still isn't easy, because when you have to talk, especially with the plumber, contractor, they don't tend to take you seriously. So you have to give them a high kick. Hello, who is paying you? It's me. So you better get this job done. Man and woman, it's me. Actually in the first year, we had a plumber, and he had this behavior. I said, okay, you don't want it? Okay, fine. I canceled the contract and I got someone else. Like, because I'm the one in charge. Not because I'm the one paying you. So you gotta understand, if I'm telling you to do this, you better do it, okay? So that's how it's supposed to be done. You gotta take control.
Money talks.
Amen to
that. Before we end, I just wanted to open it up for any questions from the crowd.
So first of all, thank you all for sharing your stories. Really impressive. We see like all chefs, big name chefs, they're all men. So how do you kind of tackle this stigma around women just being in the back and not being like the chefs who are like in the front? Because there's how many Iron Chefs?
90% men or something.
Yeah, 90% men or more, right? Yeah. So how do you handle that? I mean, how do you like swim like salmon against the stream?
So I will say on our own mission, Food to Eat is not, employing these David Changs of the world. This is why we are here today, right? The more we storytell, the more we teach the small businesses that we work with that they have stories worthy of getting out there and being told, the more they feel as if they can be empowered and that they can be the next Iron Chef and that they can apply for the Food Network, Chopped or this or that. And I think that's what's important, is that we continue to tell our stories and that our stories are important no matter how big or small that they are. So I think that through my work, that is what I've been personally doing to change the narrative of what a chef looks like. What's interesting is actually Danny Myers, I think they have a restaurant in the Whitney, and they just hired their first woman head chef, which is kind of crazy because it's not that they don't care about it. He's he's been in the industry for years, but it takes a lot for us to keep pushing. So if you are a woman in power, it's, just Food to Eat, we're a small startup, we're a small company, but the team at DVF gave us a chance to have this conversation because they realize how important it is for conversations like this to happen so that women will be in charge, women will be at the forefront of every conversation, of every industry, and so that, men will start saying, oh my God, it's a women-led industry, what are we gonna do? And they're gonna get frustrated of us, and that's what I want it to be. If they were, that's the way it should be. We are the better halves, always. But with that being said, I think it's really important that we encourage these conversations to continue happening. But that's what we do, and I'd love to hear that.
I would also say that, when I first started this business, I thought that it was like this is my business and that's everybody else's business, and there's no commingling, there's no support. And that was the biggest mistake I made, was thinking I was in this on my own. And about 2 years into the business, when I went full time with the business, I started to realize that there's so many resources and this secret, not so secret community of women entrepreneurs supporting each other. And so, mentioned, there's We NYC, and there's just so many, there's Food to Eat, there's just so many endless resources. And I'm not going to get the statistic right, but something 70% of new businesses are women or minority owned. Does that sound right? It's something crazy like that. Businesses in the last 5 years in New York City.
It's actually higher than that.
It's some crazy number. And it's because there are so many programs popping up, but also because Deepti said, the conversation is being started, and I have, even in this room, I have, women who I've been in other programs with who are here to support me, and it makes me, when, someone I used to get all the time, is this a bake sale, or are you still doing that little business? And now I'm when you see me in 5 years and I own a cookie empire, I will show you.
So the guy who comes and rescues, I forget his name, Robert, whoever, he's not going to be coming and rescuing you, right? You're going to rescue him.
Sure, yeah.
Whoever needs rescue.
Exactly.
Any other questions?
Just because there's such a room of women here, I'm wondering if and when mentorship mattered for you and how you sought out mentorship, and especially because you, Deepti, were a mentor for We NYC, and Janie, we met you at a We NYC mentor session. So in what way for all of you did that play a role, and how did you seek out mentorship for women working in food in particular?
Mentorship is really, really, really important to me because I wouldn't be where I am without the people that came before me, whether it was one of my first mentors like my mother, to one of my first internships where I sought out somebody and I learned how to network from him. And it's one of the reasons why I was a part of We NYC and spent 3 years mentoring other women all throughout New York City, and was probably spending more time being mentored as well, because you can always learn from somebody that's just starting out. But it's really essential. Like, I actually just on my Instagram today posted about this. I don't think that women help each other enough. We talk about it, but we don't actually take action. And the number one thing is, like, we have, I think, again, I don't know the numbers because I'm just not the type of person that remembers random stats, but there is a really large stat that, like, women hold 90% of, like, the purchasing power of households. So that means we could be buying from women-owned and minority-owned and immigrant-owned companies, and we should be spending that money in the right places. And so I think, again, it goes back to just like how important that is I said something along the lines of be the sponsor you didn't have, be the mentor that you didn't have. Even if you can't find it for yourself, do it for somebody else. Don't wait for it to happen for you in order to do it for somebody else. So I think that is really important. So mentorship is really essential to the process of entrepreneurship, and the more we can help each other, the more we grow. There's no competition. It's you flourish, I flourish. You get business, I get business. That's how it should be, and we shouldn't be in competition with that.
We should be, and continue what you're saying, we should be supporting each other and working together because we all have a purpose. I think mentorship is very important. I'm happy with SBA. It's a really good resource that I would advise anybody who is starting entrepreneurship. They lead you with facts and details and guide you and give the guidelines that you need if you're very interested in starting your own business. So I do recommend it. Me and my mom, we once in a while, there's another, it's a Spanish woman, it's called Empresaria CNK. It's also a community, but it's a Spanish woman independent. They have come digital. So these are women that maybe are all part of the world. We know the lady, she used to work with us like years ago, and I'm happy for her how she's been expanded, but it's more digital and helping each other. And you can see the need that is there, that if we hold each other together, and we learn so many things from each other. So I think it's very important that we, no matter the color, no matter where you're from, we are all women, we all have the same feeling. And one thing that men cannot do, we get multitasker, we can do it all. So that being said, that's why I want to say I'm really happy about my mom also. She had taken the first step. And she's starting her, she's going to university now in January. So she's sharpening those skills as working on her second business as well.
That's amazing. Any other questions before we wrap up? Oh, I love seeing familiar faces.
Hello. I'm in a very male-dominated area. I'm in tech, obviously. I find it really difficult, actually, how to connect with women, how to mentor them, how to actually encourage them to do more. I can do it with men because I'm a man, but and I would like to hear from you. How would you guys have liked some man in the past to say, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to bring you up, and this is how I want to let you flourish, because I try, I don't know what I'm doing, so I would like some advice.
The simple answer is like, just be a sponsor, right? Be the sponsor that you didn't have, or like you just present opportunities. There's already such few opportunities. I say, like, if there's an opportunity like to speak somewhere and you got it and you think that a woman could be better at it, or even if you would be just as good as her, give her the opportunity because she needs to be a part of it. My husband went to a conference today for people in food, and it was all men, and I was like, well, you need to go say something to them, and I encouraged him to do that. So he went to the people that were running the conference and said, my wife would have been a perfectly great candidate to speak. Like, why is it that it's literally all men? Because there's plenty of women in this industry, and maybe they're not high up top, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah, they're not the David Changs, but they have plenty of experience. I mean, you talk to any of these three women, and they have stories to tell, and so why not? So just present opportunities, and you've done that for us. Like, you've always called me and said, like, hey, like, I feel like I'm going to do this event series together. Can we do it together? And like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because things happen, but present those opportunities, and I think that it works.
And just to add to that, I don't think you should talk differently because she's female. I think you should talk to her exactly how you would if it was one of your male employees. I think she would appreciate that more. You don't want to sugarcoat anything. You want to be neutral, equal.
Any other questions? I think we may have time for one more. Come on, guys, one more. Somebody. No? All right, I know everybody wants to eat and drink a little bit more. That's probably why I still haven't gotten a barapao, so.
There's still more of you.
Yeah, no, there's like literally a lot more. So as you know, as we sum up tonight, all of these women come from different, unique backgrounds, and their uniqueness and adversity becomes a strength. And it actually comes through your food, which is awesome. You know, the stories that you're telling of where you came from shows up when you'll be eating tonight. So I encourage you to all think about what makes you unique, what makes you who you are, and how do you put that through the work that you do in the world, and how do you do that by investing in things that you believe in. And so be in charge. As you know, we talk about what it means to be in charge. Think about what that means to you as individuals, and make sure that you buy women-owned. So if you would like to buy something tonight, make sure you do. And thank you again so much for being here. It means a lot to see so many familiar faces. It's really hard to do what we do every day, and to wake up every day and to leave the house with 2 little ones. So it's exciting to see the work that we do to come out and to be presented to you. So thank you again.